The morning of October 12, 2024, crept quietly into the sleepy town of Harmony Creek, shrouded in a gentle fog that seemed to muffle every sound and soften every edge. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and the distant promise of a cold winter, while the world held its breath in the hush before sunrise. Here, doors were left unlocked and secrets were thought to be the stuff of faraway cities, never something that could slip quietly into their own backyards. But that morning a shadow, long and silent, began to stretch over Harmony Creek, as if the town itself sensed something was amiss. A darkness that crept from the edge of the woods, reaching all the way to the steps of the First Community Church, the town's most sacred place. And at the center of it all stood a man everyone believed they knew, a man whose gentle smile and steady presence had become the heartbeat of Harmony Creek, Pastor David Martin. He was the town's moral compass, a comforting voice in times of trouble, always ready with a prayer or a reassuring word. Pastor Martin was more than just a preacher. He was the bedrock of Harmony Creek, the keeper of its hopes and its secrets. For 15 years he had christened their babies, married their young lovers, and eulogized their departed, weaving himself into the fabric of every family's story. His Sunday sermons were legendary, not for fire and brimstone but for their gentle wisdom, their messages of forgiveness, and the hope they offered to all who listened. He had a kind word for everyone, a steady hand to offer, and a smile that could calm the most troubled heart. Yet sometimes, his eyes seemed to hold a flicker of something unspoken. People would often say, "If you can't trust Pastor Dave, who can you trust?" But trust, like faith, can sometimes be blind. His life appeared to be an open book, filled with chapters of faith, family, and unwavering devotion to his flock. But even the most well-read book can have pages that are missing, or words that are carefully erased. That was the story everyone knew, or at least the one they wanted to believe. Beneath the surface something else was stirring, but evil, as it often does, pays no mind to reputation or the sanctity of a place. It slips in quietly, unnoticed, until it is far too late. It crept into Harmony Creek under the cloak of darkness, silent and unseen, weaving itself into the very heart of the community. While the town slept, believing they were safe, a terrible secret was being buried, one that would fester in the shadows, waiting to be discovered. Not deep, but just enough to be hidden from a passing glance, just enough to keep the truth from the light. The kind of secret that, once unearthed, would poison the ground it touched, making everyone question the very foundation of their community and the man they thought they knew. It was a secret that would soon have a name, a face, and a family left to wonder how such a thing could happen in their perfect little world. A world that was about to be turned completely upside down, as the truth clawed its way to the surface. The contrast was stark, almost poetic in its cruelty, a beacon of light and goodness, standing just a stone's throw away from a scene of unimaginable darkness. The serenity of the church, a symbol of hope, now cast in the shadow of suspicion and fear. On that fateful Saturday morning, as the first rays of sun filtered through the autumn canopy, a local birdwatcher, taking his usual route through the woods bordering the church property, stumbled upon something that would haunt his nightmares for years to come. It wasn't a fallen branch or a startled deer, it was something that sent a chill deeper than the autumn air. It was something far more sinister, something that had no place in the peaceful woods of Harmony Creek, a secret that would shatter the illusion of safety forever. The shepherd's flock was about to face a wolf it never saw coming, and the shepherd himself, well, his secrets were about to be dragged into the light. The discovery sent a shockwave through the town. For many, it felt like the ground had shifted beneath their feet. The body, partially concealed by a pile of freshly raked leaves, was identified as 22-year-old Emily Baxter. Emily wasn't a stranger. She was a quiet, sweet-natured young woman who had moved to Harmony Creek a year earlier to care for her ailing grandmother. She worked part-time at the local library and sang in the church choir, Pastor Martin's choir. The news spread like wildfire, carried by hushed phone calls and frantic text messages. The library closed for the day. Mrs. Jenkins, the librarian, wept as she locked the doors, remembering how Emily always stayed late to help her shelve the last books. Neighbors gathered on their lawns, speaking in low, somber tones. Mr. Callahan, who Emily visited every Sunday to deliver groceries, clutched a photo of her and his late wife, his voice trembling as he told anyone who would listen, "She was like family to us. How could this happen? And here, of all places." So close to the church, so close to a symbol of safety. The initial reaction was one of collective grief and disbelief. The Johnson twins, who Emily tutored after school, left flowers at the edge of the woods, their mother unable to explain why someone would hurt Miss Emily. This was a town that rallied. People who barely spoke to each other before now found themselves united in sorrow. Casseroles were delivered to the Baxter family home, each dish a small attempt to fill the void left behind, and a prayer vigil was hastily organized. At the vigil, Mrs. Alvarez, who had lost her own daughter years before, pressed Emily's grandmother's hand and whispered, "We're all with you."
And who was there to lead us in our sorrow? Pastor David Martin. His voice, though strained with emotion, was a source of comfort for the grieving community. I remember how he hugged Mrs. Jenkins, the librarian, as she sobbed in the front pew. He spoke of Emily's beautiful spirit, her angelic voice in the choir, and the senseless tragedy of a life cut short. The choir, missing Emily's voice, could barely finish their hymn. He held the hands of weeping parishioners and offered prayers for peace and justice. Even the most stoic among us found comfort in his words. He was the shepherd, tending to his wounded flock, and no one could imagine him as anything but our steadfast guide through the darkness.
But as the days turned into a week, the grief began to mix with a new, unsettling emotion: fear. Mrs. Alvarez stopped letting her grandchildren walk to school alone. The woods behind the church, once a popular spot for quiet walks, were now wrapped in yellow police tape. Mr. Callahan's daily strolls ended abruptly at the edge of the cordon. State investigators, with their serious faces and official-looking vehicles, became a common sight. They moved through the town with a purpose that felt alien to the slow, gentle rhythm of Harmony Creek. They asked questions. They interviewed dozens of people, from Emily's co-workers to her friends. Even the Johnson twins were questioned, their mother holding them close. And slowly, methodically, their investigation began to circle closer and closer to the one place no one wanted to look: the church. The town held its breath. Mrs. Jenkins watched from her window, hands trembling, as police cars pulled up to the church. They watched as investigators entered the First Community Church, not for a sermon, but with search warrants. They saw detectives speaking with Pastor Martin for hours. Mrs. Alvarez prayed for him, convinced he was suffering as much as anyone. The idea was absurd, unthinkable. People defended him fiercely. Mr. Callahan, voice shaking, said, "He baptized my grandson. He's a good man."
"He's a man of God," I told a local reporter. "He was heartbroken over Emily's death just like the rest of us. They're wasting their time." I trusted him with my family.
But the police kept digging, and the sense of unease grew. Mrs. Jenkins stopped attending choir practice, unable to look at the empty seat where Emily once sat. The whispers started to grow louder than the hymns on Sunday morning. Even the Johnson twins' mother began to wonder if anyone could truly be trusted. The trust that had bound Harmony Creek together for generations was beginning to fray at the edges, revealing a terrifying uncertainty beneath. For the first time, the people of Harmony Creek looked at each other and at their pastor with doubt in their eyes. The investigation was a slow, meticulous process. It began, as it often does, with the victim's digital life. Detectives pulled Emily Baxter's phone records, and a pattern quickly emerged. In the weeks leading up to her death, there was one number she called and texted more than any other. A number that was registered to a prepaid disposable phone. But investigators were thorough. Using cell tower data, they triangulated the phone's location. Time and time again, it pinged from the same areas as another phone. A phone registered to Pastor David Martin. The connection was indirect, but it was there. A thin, digital thread connecting the young choir singer to her pastor. The first interview with Pastor Martin was informal, a routine part of the investigation. He was cooperative, calm, and expressed deep sorrow. Emily was a wonderful young woman, he told detectives, his voice steady. A vital part of our church family. We are all devastated. When asked about his communication with her, he explained it was purely pastoral. He was her spiritual advisor, helping her navigate some personal difficulties. He claimed their conversations were infrequent, limited to church matters and occasional counseling. He denied any knowledge of a secret phone, his expression a mask of sincere confusion. The detectives listened, took notes, and left, but the thread had been pulled. Then came the physical evidence. Found near Emily's body, tucked into the pocket of her coat, was a folded church pamphlet. It was the program from the previous Sunday service at the First Community Church. On the back, written in faint pencil, were 3 words: "He knows." tell him. It was cryptic, a desperate plea to an unknown recipient. Forensics couldn't lift a clear fingerprint from the paper, but the pamphlet itself placed Emily at the church, or at least in contact with someone from it shortly before she died. Investigators now had a location, a digital link, and a mysterious message. The circle was tightening, and it was drawing ever closer to Pastor Martin. The evidence was circumstantial, a collection of puzzle pieces that didn't quite fit together. There was no smoking gun, no DNA, no murder weapon, no confession. The pastor's supporters rallied, arguing that the connections were flimsy, coincidental. They said it was a witch hunt, an attempt by outsiders to tear down a good man. The town was divided. Some saw a grieving spiritual leader caught in a tragic misunderstanding. Others saw the calm demeanor of a man hiding a terrible secret. The police needed more. They needed something to bridge the gap between suspicion and certainty, and it would come from a place they least expected it. Just when the investigation seemed to be stalling, a flurry of anonymous letters began arriving at the police station. Each letter was unsigned, the typed words stark against the plain white paper, their origins impossible to trace. The letters spoke of secrets hidden behind the stained glass windows of the First Community Church, and of things whispered in the dark. One letter alleged that Pastor Martin and Emily Baxter were not just pastor and parishioner, but were involved in a secret romantic relationship.
I have seen them meeting late at night, not in the church, but in the pastor's private study. Others have noticed too, but no one dares speak. A week before Emily's body was found, there was a heated argument. I heard it. The walls in this church have ears. He told her he would silence her. That's what the letter claimed.
These anonymous letters honestly changed everything, and they kept coming. Each one more cryptic, more damning than the last. They provided motives where there had been none, and painted a picture of a church riddled with secrets. A secret affair, a threat of exposure. Rumors swirled like smoke, impossible to grasp, but impossible to ignore. But who wrote the letters? Was it one person or many, each adding fuel to the fire? Was it a concerned citizen with genuine information, a malicious actor trying to frame the pastor, or just someone feeding the rumor mill? Without a source, they were just scraps of paper and whispers, but they gave investigators a new, darker direction. They re-interviewed church staff and choir members, this time with more pointed questions, and rumors spread even faster. Most remained loyal, dismissing the allegations as vicious gossip, but the whispers grew louder. "Impossible," said the church secretary. "Pastor Martin loves his wife. He is a man of impeccable character." Their loyalty was a stone wall, but even stone can crack under enough pressure. Detectives brought Pastor Martin in for a second interview. This time the mood was different, charged with suspicion and the weight of so many rumors. The questions were no longer gentle inquiries, they were accusations, sharpened by the words of the anonymous letters. They presented him with the phone records, the cell tower data, and the damning contents of the letters. "Pastor, were you having an affair with Emily Baxter?" one detective asked bluntly. Martin's composure finally cracked, his face flushed with anger. "This is an outrage," he snapped, his voice rising. "These are vile, baseless lies. My relationship with Emily was appropriate and pastoral. I was helping her. This is a character assassination." He denied everything, his indignation so powerful it almost seemed genuine. The town was in turmoil, rumors spreading faster than the truth ever could. The pastor's denials were printed in the local paper right next to speculative articles and reprinted anonymous letters. The community fractured. Some parishioners left the church, unable to reconcile the accusations with their faith. Others doubled down on their support, organizing rallies and prayer circles for the pastor and his family. They saw him as a martyr, persecuted by a cynical world. The evidence was a frustrating tangle of maybes, what-ifs, and now a chorus of anonymous voices. A secret phone he denied owning, a cryptic note with no context, and a flood of anonymous letters that could be truth or poison. The truth remained just out of reach, shrouded in doubt, denial, and the relentless whispers in the pews. The case might have grown cold right there, buried under the weight of reasonable doubt. But then, investigators got a warrant to do one last sweep of Pastor Martin's home. They were looking for anything. A diary, a letter, a hidden item that could corroborate the anonymous claims. In the back of a dusty closet in the basement, tucked inside an old shoebox filled with forgotten receipts, they found it. A second cell phone, a cheap, prepaid burner phone. It was the missing piece of the puzzle, the very phone they had been trying to trace. The one Pastor Martin had sworn he knew nothing about. It was a devastating blow to his credibility. The discovery of the phone was the twist no one saw coming. The battery was dead, but the forensic technicians worked their magic. When they powered it on, they found a history of texts and calls that matched Emily Baxter's phone perfectly. The secret relationship was no longer an anonymous allegation, it was a digital reality. But the most damning evidence was the very last message sent from the phone, dated the night Emily disappeared. It was sent to her, a single, cryptic message that made the blood run cold. It didn't say "I love you" or "I'm sorry." It said, "The debt is paid. It is finished." What debt? And what exactly was finished? The message was a confession and a mystery all at once. When confronted with the phone, Pastor Martin fell silent. His lawyer stepped in, and the conversation was over. The pastor was arrested, and the town watched in stunned silence as their spiritual leader was led away in handcuffs. But the victory for investigators was short-lived. At trial, his high-powered defense team argued that the evidence was still circumstantial. The phone proved a relationship, yes, but not murder. The final message, they claimed, was a religious reference, a quote about spiritual, not literal, finality. They painted him as a flawed man, a sinner, but not a killer. In the end, the jury was deadlocked. The thread of evidence, while strong, had not been woven into a rope solid enough to hang a conviction on. A mistrial was declared. Pastor David Martin was released, and to the shock of many, he eventually returned to the pulpit of the First Community Church. His congregation is smaller now, the pews half empty, but the faithful who remain believe in his innocence. The case of Emily Baxter's death officially grew cold, filed away in a cabinet marked unsolved. Her family is left with only questions, their grief a constant, unanswered prayer for justice. And so, the shadow still lingers over Harmony Creek. The pastor still preaches of forgiveness, his voice echoing in the sanctuary just a short walk from where Emily's body was found. The town remains divided, a community haunted by a story with no final chapter. The evidence points one way, but faith and loyalty point another. Who really knows what happened in the woods that night? Who knows the truth behind the pastor's dark secret? Perhaps only the pastor himself and the silent victim who can no longer speak. And maybe, just maybe, the anonymous author of a letter who continues to watch from the pews. The silence left in the wake of the mistrial is pierced only by the voices of those who were there that night. Witnesses whose memories are both a burden and a clue. First, there's the jogger. She recalls the damp chill of the evening as she passed near the old church. Her voice trembles as she describes a shadowy figure lurking by the side entrance. "I couldn't see his face," she says, "but he moved with purpose, glancing over his shoulder as if he didn't want to be seen." She pauses, haunted by what-ifs, by the thought that she might have glimpsed the last moments of a life. Then a church member steps forward, his recollection clouded by doubt and regret. "There were strange noises that night," he admits quietly. "I heard hurried footsteps in the hallway and then the creak of the side door. I thought it was just teenagers, maybe someone sneaking a smoke. But now I wonder." Their testimonies do not solve the case. Instead, they deepen the mystery, adding new layers of uncertainty and suspicion. Each detail, a shadow, a sound, a hurried step, threads together a tapestry of secrets, hinting that the truth may still be hidden in plain sight. In Harmony Creek, every whisper, every memory, becomes another piece of a puzzle that refuses to be solved. The town waits, listening for the next confession, the next clue, the next shadow flickering in the night. On the heels of uncertain memories, the investigation takes a sharper turn. Detective Harris sits behind a battered desk, his voice echoing through official police transcripts. Each page reveals a new inconsistency, alibis that shift under scrutiny, timelines that refuse to align. He questions the choir director who claims to have left early, but security footage suggests otherwise. Another church member insists he never entered the pastor's office, yet fresh fingerprints tell a different story. The evidence grows darker. Harris reads aloud from the report. A blood-stained letter was discovered tucked beneath hymnals in the pastor's locked drawer. Its contents remain cryptic, but the edges are torn, like a secret ripped in haste. And then, the missing church key. The janitor swears he returned it to the office, but the logbook shows no record. Who had access, and why? As these transcripts unfold, suspicion spreads like wildfire. Each new detail entangles the townspeople further, blurring the line between witness and suspect. In Harmony Creek, trust is eroding, and the truth seems more elusive than ever. In the dim glow of the church's back office, Detective Harris unfolds a new piece of evidence. An anonymous letter, its words trembling with urgency. His voice is steady as he reads aloud, but each sentence lands like a stone in still water. The truth of Emily's death, the letter begins, has been carefully hidden. What you see is not an accident, but a deliberate cover-up, woven by those you trust most. Names you whisper in prayer have hands stained by secrets. The camera lingers on the faces of townspeople, each one a possible conspirator, each glance weighted with suspicion. The letter lists not just one, but several pillars of Harmony Creek, people who shaped the town's faith and future. It speaks of late-night meetings, hush money, and a pact sealed in fear. As the final words echo, viewers are left with more questions than answers. Who wrote the letter? How deep does the conspiracy go? And what really happened to Emily that fateful night? The screen fades to black, leaving the mystery unresolved, trust shattered, and the shadows of Harmony Creek longer than ever. A single trembling voice breaks the silence, recorded on a battered cassette, its static crackling like distant thunder. The room is shrouded in dusk as Detective Harris presses play, his hands unsteady. On the tape, a woman's voice, recognizable as Mrs. Langley, the reclusive groundskeeper, speaks with a haunted urgency. "I wasn't supposed to be there," she whispers. "But I saw Emily that evening, at the edge of the woods by the old chapel ruins. She was crying, clutching something to her chest. She wasn't alone. Pastor Reed was there. They argued, his words sharp, hers desperate. I heard him say, 'If you tell anyone, it's not just your life that'll change.' Then, she ran. I wanted to call for her, but fear held me in place." The tape clicks off. Detective Harris stares into the growing shadows, the weight of the revelation pressing in. The townspeople's faces flicker across the screen. Pastor Reed's stern gaze, Emily's fleeting smile, Mrs. Langley's trembling hands. The truth, it seems, is more twisted than anyone feared. As night settles over Harmony Creek, a new question emerges. What secret did Emily carry, and why was she so determined to reveal it, no matter the cost? The mystery deepens, and the town's darkest hour has only just begun. The following morning, Harmony Creek awakens not to birdsong, but to the relentless hum of rumor. Detective Harris sits hunched over a stack of official transcripts, his eyes scanning every word, every pause. The camera glides over blurred lines of text, police interview logs, time-stamped audio snippets. The pastor's voice calm, too calm. A dispatcher's voice crackles. Pastor Reed states he was leading choir practice from 6 to 8. But the choir members' statements tell a different story. Practice ended early, at 7:15. A second audio log, a parishioner recalling, "He left alone, said he had somewhere to be." A timeline assembles on screen, moments colliding, a glaring 20-minute gap. Cut to townsfolk gathered in the church hall, faces drawn with confusion and disbelief. A mother clutches her child, whispering, "He always seemed so trustworthy." An older man shakes his head, anger and sorrow mingling in his eyes. Detective Harris's voice, strained but steady, narrates, "Every alibi has its seams, and sometimes the truth slips right through." The scene lingers on the church's stained glass windows, fractured light casting uneasy patterns across the pews. The community's faith, once unshakable, now trembles beneath the weight of suspicion. As the evidence mounts and alibis unravel, Harmony Creek is forced to confront a chilling possibility. The darkness they feared may have been hiding in plain sight all along. Night falls heavy over Harmony Creek, and with it, a storm of revelations. The camera pans across Detective Harris's cluttered desk, now scattered with photographs, receipts, and crumpled notes. A gloved hand slides a marked envelope into view, stamped with the church's insignia but addressed in an unfamiliar script. A close-up, inside, a grainy photograph, taken the night of the incident, shows not just Pastor Reed, but two other familiar faces, half shrouded in shadow near the church's back entrance. The timestamp blinks 7:32 p.m., 20 minutes unaccounted for, now split between 3. Cut to the town's diner where whispers swirl over coffee cups. Mrs. Avery, the organist, is seen hastily deleting messages from her phone. Across town, Mr. Dalton, the groundskeeper, burns a torn scrap of paper in his backyard fire pit, glancing over his shoulder. Detective Harris's voice, thick with urgency, overlays the scene. "This isn't just one lie, it's a web, and every thread I pull leads somewhere darker." Quick cuts. A parishioner's trembling hands clutch a set of keys. A choir member stares at a hidden camera feed on a laptop, face blanching. A child's drawing, left forgotten in a pew, depicts 3 adult figures beneath a looming shadow. The evidence no longer points in a single direction. Suspicions fracture, trust erodes, and the entire community begins to wonder, who else is hiding behind a mask, and what have they done to protect their secrets? As thunder rumbles outside, the camera lingers on the church doors, now closed tight. Harmony Creek holds its breath, knowing the next revelation could tear everything apart. Narrator. As dawn breaks over the quiet town, the truth behind Emily Baxter's death finally comes to light. The secrets that once haunted the church are now spoken aloud, and the community gathers to mourn, heal, and forgive. Detective Harris stands before the congregation, his voice steady but heavy with emotion. Detective Harris. Justice has been served, but the scars will remain. Let us remember Emily not for the darkness that claimed her, but for the light she brought into our lives. Church member. We will carry her memory and we will rebuild together. Narrator. The fractured mask of the past is laid to rest. In its place, hope flickers anew. The town, forever changed, finds the strength to move forward, united by the truth and the promise of redemption. Music swells, then fades to silence.